Well, this is a box, and in this box should be a vacuum. Now, you know by the title what this probably is, unless I've decided to name it something different. Now, a bit of a backstory, I wasn't actually looking for this when I come across it. I always like to give a bit of a story as to how I get these before we look into them. So, I was simply looking around on the internet and I ended up on eBay because I couldn't find what I did want anywhere else. And eBay is always a good place to find stuff, really. Even though it is getting a bit controversial these days. I was just looking for what little parts for little model cars is what I was looking for, engines and things. And randomly in the bottom, when it says things you might like, was this Ryobi, what should be in here hopefully, a Ryobi vacuum cleaner, the toolbox version. You know, the ones like a toolbox, you put the battery on the top, 18 volts. I had one when they first came out because they were handy. I was doing a bit of work on a motorhome at the time, an old Talbot Express. So a battery powered vacuum cleaner was handy. But then I couldn't justify it, so I sold it. Because I've got pneumatic Henrys and things like that anyway. I don't need more vacuums, I just have to run an electric cable out. Instead, the convenience of the battery wasn't enough to justify keeping it. So I sold it. But when this one came up, second hand obviously, very, very, very dirty going by the pictures, and the description was untested. Don't have a battery for it, I can't test it, I assume it works. Look at the pictures carefully. So I thought to myself, let's have a look at the price. And the price said the price of a McDonald's. Now, I don't really eat McDonald's because I think it's too expensive for what it is. But when you put that price on one of these Ryobi vacuum cleaners, it's not expensive at all. So let's have a look. Let's open it up and see what we actually get for the price of a McDonald's. I'm really excited because the one I had, obviously I bought brand new, but it was bloody good. So if I can get this working, man, I've had a proper touch if it works. So let's see. Now, it did take quite a long time. It wasn't from a company, obviously. It was from I think the person I got this from, looking at their other listings, I think they do a bit of buying and selling, I'm not really sure. But there was some antiques and bits and bobs on their page. So, but it took them over a week to even think about posting it. So I wasn't sure what was happening. But once they eventually posted it, it turned up the next day. Here we go. Let's see what we've got. Another bubble wrap. I always like to smell second-hand things when see what they smell like. Sometimes things smell like curry, sometimes they smell funny, other times they just don't have a smell. And this one doesn't really have a smell. We've got some crisp box in the bottom. This doesn't look bad. Whether it's actually going to work is a different question that we need to ask ourselves. It's still got the tag on it, look. Blower port. Still got the blower port tag on it. Now, I think this is, that looks like plaster dust or something to me. It looks like there's some plaster residue. Switch feels alright. It's got the little attachment there because this of course is a wet and dry vacuum. It's wet and dry. Hose, that seems alright. It's very dirty and dusty, but I can clean it. I mean, I don't mind a bit of cleaning. If it works, I can clean it up, no problem at all. The year, the 28th week of 2023, so we're obviously in February 2025 now, so it's a year and a bit, or yearish old. Let's open up, let's put the hose back. You can buy the little kit for this, which I nearly bought when I had one of these before. I might buy, if this turns out to be good, I've saved a lot of money, I might buy the whole vacuum kit for it, and it means I'll have a longer hose and everything like that. see what we've got on the inside. Oh yeah, it's obviously being used for wet vacuuming more than dry, I would assume. The little ball is there. That's for when it gets full up, the ball goes in there and stops the suction. We all know how a wet vac works. Well, it's probably been used, I don't know about a building site, but for some kind of building thing. The seal seems good around the outside, so I might just have to clean this up. Let's put it back together because I'm getting quite excited to see whether it's going to work. Obviously, the proof is going to be in the pudding. Have I got to do anything to it? Is it going to work? Now, this battery is another bit of a miracle story, really. I mean, you can see there it's got "not good" written on the back of it. Now, my dad bought this in 2021, and brand spanking new from Ryobi, and it wouldn't charge up. I think it would go up to 2 lights, it wouldn't charge. He said to them about it, and they said, destroy that one, put it in the recycling, and we'll send you a new one. So they sent him a brand new one, which works perfectly fine, but he didn't. He kept meaning to take it to the recycling place, but he kept forgetting, and it stayed on a shelf somewhere. And he said to me, I've got this battery, I keep meaning to take it to the recycling place, but I haven't got a chance to it, and I know you like to revive things. Do you think you can revive a battery? I said, I'll have a go. So he gave it to me, and I was going to take it apart, and I was going to do a video for you lot about reviving batteries, because I've revived quite a few of these. All you've got to do is, when they go so low, the charger won't pick them up. So you have to force electric into the cells with another battery or power supply, enough so that the charger can sense it and start charging it, and hopefully by then it'll be okay, as long as the cells haven't degraded too much. But I didn't need to. I literally put it on my charger and it charged, and I've been using it and it's completely fine. So that's another miracle. Anyway, the battery lid seems fine. Let's put this battery in there, close the lid. That all seems fine. Put it on number 1. Nothing. Nothing. Aha. That could be a problem. It seems to be dead. Why is it dead? I don't think there's any secrets to it. It's literally put the battery on and go for it. It could be that the switch itself is dead. Let's see. Probably not. Let's get another battery. We'll get this battery. No, so it's not the battery that's causing the trouble. Looks like we're going to have to do a little bit of delving. There was a reason why this was so cheap. Because they knew that it didn't work, I bet. So they simply listed it as untested. I don't have a battery, because then they can get away with it. I suspect, and what normally happens with wet and dry vacuums, is if this ball gets stuck, it might not be, but I'm suspecting things. If this ball gets stuck down, and when the water level rises, it doesn't block off the thing, it can then suck up all the dirt and the water, the dirty water, and it messes up the impeller. I reckon that's probably what's happened here, but there's only one way to find out. Let's get a long screwdriver, take out all the screws, and see what we've got. Right, so that's my prediction anyway. I want you lot to put in the comments what your prediction is. What do you think is the problem? I reckon it's the motors. The motors probably had it, because it's probably sucked up a load of dirty water, plaster, or whatever this white stuff is that it's been sucking up. Perhaps they had a flood. I don't know where. It might give me a clue actually if I go and have a look to see where the seller is, you know, what their address is, because if they're in a place, because recently in the winter, particularly recently, there's a lot of places in England, which is where I am, that have been getting flooded a lot because of just people keep building houses and concrete everywhere, so when it rains the water's got nowhere to go, so it floods houses. You know, engineers are supposed to be smart, but they don't give an uncle's monkey, so that's what they do. So this might be in a place, this might have come from a place where they've been flooded, and so they've sucked up a load of, they bought one of these to relieve the flood water from their home perhaps, and it's, I reckon that ball's got stuck, it's sucked up a load of dirty water and caused a problem. Now luckily, because this is just a simple vacuum cleaner, there's not a lot to it, and what we can do to see if it's jammed, exactly what I thought, that motor is jammed solid, absolutely solid. It won't move. Let me zoom in. Where's my screwdriver gone? What have I done with it? There it is. Look, just pushing on the fins of that motor, it won't move. I don't want to push too hard, I don't want to break the fin off. So what we need to do is carefully, it's interesting they've got ferrite rings around these as well, that's very handy, very nice. They're trying to suppress any noise, that's very nice. So, oh no, I don't want to lose all the screws. Put that screw there. Have I just lost another screw? There's one screw. I think one fell on the floor. There it is. I've got to be careful. I don't want to lose all the screws that hold this together, because I want to fix it and I want it to be good when I've fixed it. So, it looks like we're going to have to take... Does that come off there? No. We're going to have to be careful with our wires. Don't want to pull them off the board. They won't, do they unclip? No, they don't unclip. I think they're stuck in there. Let's undo these screws here, and then I reckon we should be able to take the whole impeller out, and then we can find out why the motor is jammed. What do you reckon, you lot? Comment what you reckon it is. Am I going to be right? Do you think it's something else? We know the motor's definitely, well, is it the motor that's jammed, or is it the impeller that's jammed? I'm reckoning and I'm betting on there's something stuck in that impeller. So hopefully it's not going to be damaged, and we should be able to get whatever it is out, and yeah, hopefully it'll work, as long as the motor's not burnt out. If the motor's burnt out, then obviously I'm going to have to go and buy a new motor. I haven't got one of these motors laying around, or any motor that's remotely this size laying around. But there's a QR code on the side of there. I don't really do the whole QR code thing, but there's also a part number, so I might be able to get a new motor by using that part number. But hopefully that's not what it comes to, because I was really excited about my bargain vacuum cleaner. These things are bloody handy when they work, really, really handy. You know, just to be able to put a battery on it, lift it up by the handle, and just, you know, go wherever you want and do some sucking. It's great. So let's take these screws out and see what we've got. That should come away. We've obviously got to be careful of the seal, but it is what it is. It's got to come apart. Oh, there's one more screw. I missed that one there. Look. I reckon we'll better get it to seal again. That'll be no problem at all. What have we got in here then? Yes, definitely. Oh. Ah, yeah, it was a little bit gritty. It was a little bit gritty, but it's spinning now. That's the impeller, and it's definitely been getting up in there, because you can see where it was going in there. So I think my theory was right. The ball had got stuck This looks like plaster dust to me. Can't be sure, but it's brick dust, plaster dust, some kind of dust like that. And when it sets, it does go rock hard. So that ball must have got a bit stuck. It's gone up in there, sucked it up and blown it out the blow vent, and it's got jammed up. So now we can move that out of the way. We can put the battery on it, and we should be able to test it and see whether it's going to be any good or not. Where's the switch? Are we ready? No. Well, it is out of shot, but you can't see anyway. There we go. Not working. Let's what are we on? Right, we're on number 2. Let's test to see if we've got any electric at certain points. So get my trusty meter out. If you want one of these meters, you can go to the link in the description, and you can use as well discount code RSP15. That'll be in the description of this video. You'll get 15% off, and you'll also be helping me out by using that link. These are very, very good meters, and what we're going to be able to do, it's an automatic meter as well, so you don't even have to set it to what mode you want it. It knows. It's crazy. It's very, very clever. So let's find out what's got electric and what hasn't. So there's the switch. There's, oh, I've got it round the wrong way. There is, can you see that? 3.1 volts at that switch. Well, that ain't quite right. What have we got on here? This is where the battery is connected. Where that battery is connected, we've got 18.3, 19.7 volts. So we've got electric coming from the battery. Let's start at the source, which is the battery, and then we'll find out where we're losing it. And maybe this board has had it, I don't know. Let's just check. These are the connectors that come out of that. With then 19.7, hopefully you can see that down there. And maybe I'll have to zoom in just a gnats. And while I'm zooming in, I'll have a quick sip of coffee because it's quite important. I always do the same. I always come out here to do stuff with a cup of coffee and forget about it. Then by the time I remember it, it's stone blooming cold. So we've got these wires here coming out here, going into this board, and then they come out of this board and go into these little joiners. So let's test the joiners and see what we get. So if we're low here, we know it's the board that's had it. Well, that's interesting. We've got the switch on, so maybe it's the switch which has had it. Maybe the switch is no good. Let's put it on setting 1. That was on setting 2 before. Three volts. We're getting 3 volts come out of it. Very interesting. What have we got? Have we got anything going to this motor? I know some of you would be doing this the other way round or whatever, but I'm just playing. Let's put the switch in the off position. See, with the switch in the off position, we have, oh no. We've still got continuity. So Alright, let's do a little bit of a test then. I'm going to get some jump leads. So what I've got going on is I've got a battery here, another Ryobi battery. I'm using this other one because just in case it shorts out, I don't want to ruin this battery. I've randomly got going. I'm using this other old one. It's slightly smaller, but it's charged up. So we got, and what we're going to do is I can't disconnect these. I've tried to get these connectors out, but I don't want to break them. I think these wires are soldered in there and then the connectors are clipped in. I can't get them out. I've tried prying them, but I'm being careful. I think that's what these connectors are for. When they put the motor in, obviously the wires are in there and then they just connect them up with these. So if I was to get a new motor, I'd have to cut these connectors off and resolder it or connect it in some other way. So we're just going to bypass the switch, bypass that little board, and just see if we can get the motor to spin, and see what happens. Wonder if we will be able to. Positive on there, negative on there. Nothing. Nothing at all. Positive. That scared me then. Nothing. Not a dicky bird on there. And that's free now. That motor itself is actually spinning. I don't know whether you can see, but the little impellers are spinning. That's a free motor. It doesn't even smell burnt out, to be honest. Out of curiosity, let's just see what happens. I think I'm going to take this switch out. There's 4 screws there. I should be able to take the switch out, but just want to see what happens if I get the meter and put this on there. And I know you're all screaming at the screen, you know, just do this, just do that. Well, look, be quiet. I'm playing around here, just having a bit of fun. So we'll put this on there and put that one on there, and then we'll get this jumper, which is on the bottom of that switch, put that on there. Nothing. Nothing. Alright. It's saying, well, it means it's essentially shorted out is what's happened. So probably gonna have to get a new motor. Right, these little things here, they got the solder in them and they just heat them up. So to get them apart, you can see they're slightly squashed there. All you have to do, squeeze them in the other direction. It means you haven't got to you haven't got to cut the wires. You just squeeze these in the other direction and they come out. Happy days. Couldn't ask for better. Is the battery still in there? Yes, it is. Got to be careful now. So I want to get these 2 wires apart. Get that one off of there. Get that one off of there. Now we've got our motor separate, and let's take the battery out of here just in case. I don't want that shorted out. So let's test this motor properly now. Alright, I reckon it'll be alright. So we'll put that there like that. Got our battery, and we should be able to simply put that on there and that on there, and we'll see what we get. Oh yes. It's a bit dry and a bit loud. But it works. A little bit WD-40. I know you lot don't like it when I use WD-40 on electrical stuff, but the old WD-40 does a lot of good stuff. That's better. That's quietened it down a lot. Well, that's really good. I haven't got any switch cleaner or any motor cleaner or anything like that, so listen, you can complain and comment as much as you like. WD-40 is what we're using. That's good enough for me. So I know that motor works. So obviously the problem is either in that switch or in that board. So let's just put the battery back in there, fire the meter back up again. I mean, we know the motor's good. I thought the motor was no good, to be honest, but we know the motor's good now. So the problem's either in this board or it's that switch. You might have to get another switch for it. So we should have power coming out of this board, I would say. I would say there should be. Alright. Put it on setting 2 then. There's no electric coming out. There should be electric coming out of this board, surely. Unless the board can sense that there's no motor connected and therefore it doesn't give any electric. We've got continuity, but we've got no electric. Is there any lights on there? No, there's no lights on nothing that comes up from the outside. I didn't think there was. So perhaps that board is the fault. But before we do that, let's test the switch. So we get the switch out. Oh, we've got a bit of a mess going on here now. Bit of a habit for that, making a mess. Yeah, bit of a mess goes on. Doesn't matter what I do, I always make a mess. Always make a bloody mess. I suppose it'll be easier if it is just a switch, because then I can, if I can't get an actual switch, I can just use any switch. You know, as long as it can handle 18 volts and I don't know how many amps that motor takes. Probably not very many amps. It's not under much. It's not exactly under a load, is it? So yeah, I can just use any switch then. So it'd be handy if it is the switch. Can I take the switch apart? So it's got a little cover on it and it's just got 1 and 2 on it there. Doesn't look like you can take the actual switch. It's got a part number on it, which is nice. But it doesn't look like you can take the actual switch itself apart. I can probably unclip it. And drop that through there. Get the switch out, and we might be able to have a closer look at it, perhaps. There it goes. There it goes. Johnny boy. So the switch is a Jaben 0.5 amps 24 volt switch. Don't know whether you can see that. There it is. 0.5 amps 24 volt switch. I haven't got any switch cleaner left anywhere, I don't think. I need some switch cleaner really, but I've run out completely. I haven't got any switch cleaner at all. None. Not even an empty tin that I might be able to squeeze a little bit out of. Got absolutely none. So might be able to squeeze a little bit of WD-40 down in there. But I don't think that's going to do a lot. I don't know if it is going to be the switch. It might be. But I don't reckon it is. Let's put that around that probe. and then put this around that probe. Nothing. Nothing. Well, interesting. Very, very interesting. A little bit of an interesting development. I was just playing around. I was going to take that board out. Now remember before when I checked the two sides of the switch where we should have, well, we should have roughly 18 volts. This battery's a bit flat. It's got 17.7 volts in it, but well, kind of. But now, when I check this, we've got 17.8 volts at the switch. 17.76. So we've got voltage going to the switch now. We've got 7 on the middle one. I don't know what the middle one's for. I genuinely don't. It's a random one there. I don't know what that's all about. We check that against that one, minus 12. But what we're interested in is the two side ones, and that's got 17.8. It's gone up 17.91. So the voltage is going from the battery to the board to the switch. So I reckon the switch is the problem. But if I put a jumper, which I just done, if I put a jumper from one side of the switch to the middle one, that should send electric to these, shouldn't it? But it doesn't. I've got a new switch. The switch is a bit dicky, I think, I don't know, but the switch is the £3 switch, so I couldn't find any in the shops near me anywhere. We're a few hours on now, by the way. I've been out and come back. Couldn't find any switches in the shops. I wanted to go and buy a physical switch from a shop to get this fixed now if I could, but I can't. There weren't any in there that fit this. There's fatter ones, different ones, but I want the right one if I can to fit it in. So I've ordered one off of a parts website that sells parts for power tools. So that should hopefully come in a few days. It's £3, so that's brilliant. So I've come back indoors because this is just, I thought I'll have another little look at it. I took this board off. I reckon it might be, this board is something to do with, because it's just a vacuum cleaner. Literally all it does, that switch will transfer the power from the battery. From the power from the battery goes to the switch. Well, this board is like a little charge thing, probably to monitor the battery voltages to make sure it don't go too low. There's nothing else to it. Literally all that happens is power, switch, motor spins, creates a vacuum, sucks up stuff. There's probably a little bit of circuitry in here that if it senses that it sucks up water, it stops it for you. Probably, I don't really know. I never, with my other one that I had before, I never had it suck up water into the motor, so I don't know. It never stopped by itself. I never filled it right up. It's probably just to monitor the battery voltage and stuff like that. Now, it's just got erratic readings to it. If you try and test the side, it's got B for battery plus, B for battery negative, and it's got motor plus, motor negative there, and that's it. You got switch 1, 0 and 2. If you can see that, I might have to zoom in ever so slightly there. It's marked very, very clearly. Switch 1 position, 0 position and 2 position. There's a QR code on there which I tried to scan. It leads absolutely nowhere. It just comes up search the web, press OK, and it just says no results. Google can't find any results for this QR code, so that's completely useless. There's a model number there which I'm yet to look up, but I tried testing between the two, and all that happened was it just started smoking. Now it's reading. See that the meter's going. Oh, you can't see, can you? Jesus Christ! I done this the other day. I was doing something and I forgot I was zoomed in, and the bloody camera, you couldn't see anything. And I was talking away, saying, "Look at this, you lot, look at this," and I didn't realise that I was still zoomed in, and you couldn't see a bloody dicky bird. But anyway, let's put that goes on there. That goes on there. See that it's going all over the place. We've got we've got AC. Why is it measuring in AC? We're not AC, we're DC. So something's dicky with this board. I can't get it to 19 point. So now we're getting 19.4 volts. Now we're getting a consistent reading out of it, but it wasn't earlier. And that's from the battery. 19.4 volts from that battery. Motor. Well, let's try the switch. I haven't tried the switch. I haven't tried testing the switch yet. 17, 16, 13 volts. Yeah, man. 18, 16. It's going all over the place. I don't know what setting the switch is on. It's on 0. So if we put it to setting 2. I don't know. Motor. Well, motor should be. See, that should be sent. Eh? Why's it gone off? Might be a bit low on battery. That should be sending electric now, because we're on setting 2. So electric should be going to these wires for motor. So I should be able to just test the end of the wires, but we don't. We just get continuity. We don't get any voltage. So I reckon there's something wrong, something dicky on this board. Something's not right. I'm going to do a little bit of research. There's a little chip there and stuff. Let me do a little bit of research. So, we're probably about a week later now. And I'm fairly sure done a little bit more probing around with the multimeter after I left you lot last week. And I'm fairly sure the problem is within this circuit board there. I would imagine there's a voltage regulator somewhere in there, or something. There's a little chip there, there's that there. Now, years ago, I would have reverse engineered that as such. I would have taken the numbers, sourced the parts, found out what they'd done, and ordered new ones and tried to solder it back on that board. I really can't be bothered with that anymore. Life back then was so much more simpler and calmer. Now I just can't be bothered or want to do it. I want to get this going, but not to that extent. I did order when I thought it may be the switch, and it may still be. Hopefully I'm wrong. I'm just telling you what's happened in the last week, because for you it's obviously a couple of seconds, but for me it was a week. I ordered a switch. Well, I went down to the shop. There's a couple of shops near me, automotive car shops that I thought might have switches, and also some hardware shops, you know, electrical components and things like that. They had 3-pin switches with rocker switches with 1 and 2 and 0 and 3 pins, but they were the wrong size. I wanted one that was the same size as this one, so that it would fit in this little holder and it would fit back in there, providing it worked again, and it would all go back together as it was. So I couldn't find that, so I managed to go on the internet and I found a switch that was supposed to be, according to the listing, the diameter and all the measurements of the switch was the same. So I thought it was the same switch. it's turned up and it's smaller, and it's identical, 3 pins and everything, although that one turned up and it's bent for some reason. It's identical, but it's bloody, well, the dimensions they put on the listing were completely wrong, because it's nothing like it. It's far too small, but maybe I can use it to determine whether that switch is faulty or not. But I am sure it's that, because 18 volts goes in, but what comes out, which would go to the motor, is only 3 volts. So for 18 to go in and 3 to go out, there needs to be 18 coming out, because this is an 18 volt motor. It doesn't have to be exactly 18, but it has to be thereabouts. 3 volts obviously isn't good enough, so something on this board has gone awry. Now obviously I have tried the old warranty trick. I have tried registering it and saying to Ryobi it's gone wrong, can I have a new one on warranty, I have it repaired on warranty. They said no, as I would expect them to, because I bought it second hand, and they know that, they're not stupid. I said, you know, I did buy it second hand, but it's about a year old. And they said no, we'd have to have the original receipt for the original purchase, which is fair enough. So I said, will you sell me the part? I've got the parts diagram, there's no number on the parts diagram for that circuit board. Everything else they sell, but not that particular part, not that board. Ryobi said to me, no, we don't sell that part. Even if we wanted to, we couldn't get it to sell it. But you can contact the company who deal with our warranty repairs if you want, which happens to be CJ Sinclair's. So if you send a Milwaukee or a Ryobi and probably some other brands back for warranty repairs, it will go to CJ Sinclair's, and they handle the repair. They get whatever part and they repair it and send it back to you. So I phoned them up and explained the situation, and CJ Sinclair said to me, we can't get that part either. That circuit board isn't a part that anyone can buy. You can get the motor, you can get that switch, which is no good to me if that's no good. You can get any other part on here, but you just can't get this board, or even the components on the board, from them. I know some of you are going to say, well, that's easy. You can go to other people, you can buy the boards, you can buy each individual component. All you got to do is get the number for the component you want, buy it, unsolder that one and solder it back on the board. But I've already explained I don't want to do that. I want that whole board or nothing, because I'm being stubborn. Simple as that. That is the fact. So I said, right, okay, no problem. The lady on the phone said to me, if you wanted to, you could try phone up TTI. TTI are the people who make that board. They make that circuit board. It's got written on the back of it. The part number is a TTI part number. We zoom in ever so slightly. It's probably not going to focus now. Right, the part number is TTI, and there's the part number. So, because they make that board, I thought, great, they're going to be able to get one off the production line, or they're going to be able to have a little box of them or whatever and sell me one. If not, they could probably tell me what part. I won't have to do any reverse engineering or look at any part numbers. They can just go, oh yeah, it's this part, that always goes wrong, we'll sell you one. In which case I would put that on there. I just can't be bothered to go and research. I'm just lazy. I phoned them up and they said, yeah, we make them, but we can't sell them. I said, well, not at all. I said, what happens then? Because this unit now is not even a year old, about a year old roughly, and it's gone wrong. They won't honour the warranty because I bought it second hand. So what's going to happen? The whole thing has got to go in the bin. And they said, yeah, you know, because if it was warranty, they wouldn't repair it. They won't repair that. And this, I'm going to go on to this in a minute. They won't repair that. They'll tell you to throw it away and then send you a whole new unit. Now I reckon that's what's happened to this, because I've been doing some research, you lot. And there's an abundance of these wet and dry vacs out there that have been used 2 or 3 times and then all of a sudden won't turn on, which is what's happened to this. Use a few times and now won't turn on. There's loads of them out there. In fact, there's whole bloody threads and posts on forums all about it. There's ones for sale everywhere with the story of bought this brand new, used it 2 or 3 times, now it won't turn on. Ryobi replaced it, the whole unit, on warranty and said keep the old one, throw it away. So it's obviously a known thing that these little circuit boards fail, and I reckon that's what's happened to this one, although the previous owner wasn't entirely truthful. Although I did have an inkling in the back of my head, of course it wasn't going to be straightforward, it wasn't going to work. But instead of just saying this was replaced on warranty, it doesn't work, there you go, buy it, spares or repair, they sold it as untested because they don't have a battery. I know that that was the problem all along now. Things unravel. But anyway, we could try and desolder this old switch. It's not going to be a problem to desolder that. Solder this new switch on and just see if it makes a difference, if you'd like to, just for some fun. But I am leaning towards that's the problem. What do you think we should do? Do you think we should try that new switch just to see? Or shall we just call it a day? That circuit board's fault. I can't get another one. Well, I can get another one, but with my level of laziness being somewhat here, I'm not going to get another one. What do you reckon? You reckon try the new switch? Alright, we'll try the switch then. I'll get the soldering iron warmed up. We'll desolder it, solder the other switch on, see if it makes a difference. I don't think it will. I'm the most optimistic person you'll ever meet, but I don't think that's going to solve it. Alrighty then, you lot. I'm in absolute awe at the day. It's such a great day today. Although it might be such a great day, I still don't think that this switch is going to solve the problem. But we'll see. We've got the soldering iron here. Hopefully it's hot enough by now to do a little bit of desoldering. Should be warming up nicely, but we're not quite there yet, I don't think. No, we're nearly there. Yeah, it's getting hot. So let me just have we still got a battery in it? No, I took the battery out. Oh no, the battery's in it still. So the battery's still in it. So let me just show you while we're waiting for the old iron to warm up what's going on here. So I've done a little bit of probing around after I stopped, you know, after you lot left the other day. Well, I left you, or whatever you want to say. So we've got 18 volts. Can you see that? No, you can see that. So we've got the batteries in it. Right. Can you see that? No, my bloody arm's in the way, look. Hold on. Right. The battery, 19.44 volts. Can you see that? 19.44 volts. And if we test, if we go down here and we test, bloody hard work to do it, I'll tell you that. At the board, where the 2 wires go in at the board, bloody hell, I need extra hands, I'll tell you that. Right, that's where the 2 wires go in at the board. Minus plus and minus, right, 19.25, right, you can probably just about see that. So we should see, because that's an 18 volt motor, we should see 18 volts or thereabouts come out of this board and go into the motor. But put the switch on 1, nothing happens. Switch on 0, nothing happens. Switch on 2, nothing happens. That's what was happening last time. That's why I thought the switch was the problem. Interesting. You see, what happened after I stopped filming for you lot the other day, I was playing around with it and 3 volts was coming out of that. So maybe the switch is the problem. That's not what I was expecting to happen just then. So let's hope, fingers crossed, the switch is the problem. Right, so the yellow one goes on number 1, the blue one goes in the middle, and the white one goes on number 2. Can you remember that for me? Because I'll probably forget. Yeah, I probably will forget. Hopefully this is gonna be hot enough and then we can melt this solder. There we go. Let's get that wire out of there. Can we get that wire out of there, please? Come on. Bloody hell, what I need is a bloody, I need one of them helping hand things, or I need a bloody vice here. That's what I need. Come on, you can go, that's it. Yellow wire is out. Now we can get this. What I do need is a little vice somewhere to clamp stuff. I haven't got one. Well, I have got one, I just can't be bothered to go and get it. I could put it over here really, but it's a bloody pain in the arse to try and do that. Warm that up a little bit. You can't see what I'm doing anyway. Well out of shot. Well out of shot. It's raining again out there now. Happy days, man. We do need the rain for things to grow. Without the rain, things just can't grow. I know a lot of people complain about rain, but I'll tell you what, it's a bloody good thing, rain. Really. Until you get too much of it. Obviously, if you get too much of it, then you end up having floods and whatever else, and you certainly don't want any floods, do you? You know. Let's get these mole grips. I don't want to break this switch because it might be good. Right, that should hold that. And then we can put the iron on there and pull on that wire. There we go, that's one. That's the blue one that goes in the middle. Now the white one goes on number, what was it, number 2? I think it was number 2, wasn't it? The white one. Yeah, white one goes on number 2. Okay. So there we go, that way round. Number 2. White one is on number 2. Let's bend that round there like that. Are we going to solder it on? Should we solder it on, or should we just bend them round? Solder them on. Alright, we'll solder it on then. You're the one, you know, you're calling the shots here, if you know what I mean. Okay. Need a little bit more solder and a bit of flux really, but it might be alright. I might have to go and get a bit of solder. Yeah, let me go and get a bit of solder. Stay there. Oh, there's a bit here. What's this? Oh, it's lead free though. I've got the leaded stuff in the other room, but you could use this lead free stuff now if you want. Nothing wrong with a little bit of lead free, I suppose. It's not the best, but it will do the job. So let's put that one in there. Now, there we go. A little bit of solder. Need a little bit of flux on it really. Hold it in place. Not hold it in place, to get it to flow in place, I mean. But it'll be alright. It'll be fine. I think there's enough solder on this one now to hold this one in place. Right. Let's see. Is that going to do the trick? Your guess, my friends, is as good as mine. Let's see, where's the meter? We should see now, when I flick it onto either 1 or 2, well actually for 2 we should see the full 18 volts I would assume, or 19 volts, and because obviously 1 is a lower speed we should see a bit less voltage, but it should still be noticeable, and it should still be more than bloody 3. So we'll see if this switch was the problem. The chances of having this new switch being faulty as well, I would imagine that's fairly low. I mean, but it might be. So we're on 0 now. We're on 1. Nothing. 2. Nothing. Voltage. 1. 2. Nothing. Nothing's coming out of it whatsoever. Not a bloody dicky bird. Let's measure. Let's put the probe. Need my mole grips back really. Where's them mole grips? Let's see. Right, these aren't very good, they don't stay shut, but it might be enough just to hold it in place so I can measure this. Middle one onto so there's 7 volts on number 2 to the middle one. There's 7 volts. Hopefully you can see that. I've just realised I haven't put the meter in the right place. The middle one to the yellow one, which is number 1, again there's 7 volts there. Bloody hard to hold this in place, you know what I mean, when you've got bloody mole grips that won't stay shut. I don't know. I don't bloody know. I need to invest in some new tools, but I can't. They're expensive and nobody can afford tools these days. Nobody can afford anything. Voltage. There's 7 volts there. 7 volts on that one as well. Is there anything between the two? No. Nothing between the two. What happens if I flick it? What happens if I flick it onto that one, number 2? If I flick it to number 2, nothing. Nothing. Yeah, 0.09. Nothing. Flick it to number 1. Nothing. Nothing. Well, how the bloody hell does that work then? Very interesting. If I flick it to 0. Bloody things. 7.3 volts. 7.8, goes up to 8, goes up, it's all over the place. Look, it's going up and down all over the place. Very strange. Well, you lot, I'm stumped with that one. I don't know what the problem is with that. Well, I do. I think it's definitely this board. This board is definitely the problem. There is no other way around it, I don't think. Now, like I said, I'm not going to go taking it apart. I'm not going to go fixing that board. So that is that. So there we go. I did do a little bit more probing around with the multimeter while I was putting it back together. on that circuit board, and there is a little chip there that not a little chip, I forget the number of it. I should have took a photograph, but I didn't, but it's probably within this video. There's 18 volts that goes into this little round thing, obviously some sort of voltage regulator. Don't know what it's called, you lot will tell me because you lot know far more than me. 18 volts well 17.6 volts goes in, and absolutely nothing comes out of it, so that will be the problem. If you know where I can buy the whole board, you saw the part number, if you know where I can get one so it's a straight swap, please put it in the comments and maybe I'll look into that. But I've got loads of parts here now. Look, I've got spare part there, spare part there, this is a spare part. These things are quite expensive. Just the lid is quite expensive on its own, the handle is quite expensive, these switches are quite expensive, the hose itself as well, that's quite expensive. The tub, a lot of people seem to break these tubs for some, they must drop them off of heights or whatever and they crack the bottom of the tubs. So this one's in good condition, that's quite expensive. So at the very least I've got some pretty good quality spare parts here now. Underneath a little bit of dirt, these clips as well, from the research I've done, a lot of people seem to break these clips off, so I've got some spare parts now at the very least. So I'm sorry I didn't manage to fix it and it wasn't a victory, but it kind of was half of a win, because as I say, I've got some fairly good spare parts now, you know. So if you're interested and you want some spare parts, put a comment and we'll work out a deal and I can sort you out with a spare part. The only part that doesn't work is that circuit board. Everything else is good, even the motor, as we saw. Happy days. Thanks for watching, you lot. Take care. Love life. Treat people nicely. Treat people how you would expect to be treated, and we should have a nice happy life. And if something is broken or stopped working, don't be afraid to take it apart and have a look to work out why. You might be able to mend it, you might not. And it's still a win either way, because even if you don't mend it, you've learned something. You've learned why it's broken, you've learned how it works, and you've learned other things as well. And in my case, I've done a lot of research and I found out that all the other faults and problems that this particular product has. So now I know for the future, if I get another one and something else happens, I know what the problem is, although they're quite simple anyway. Cheerio, you lot. All the best.